Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, and we're back once again for more Larry Does Ludum, where we showcase some of the awesome games from Ludum Dare, that game jam that takes place all around the world, where aspiring game developers, long-standing game developers, and gaming aficionados all compete to be the best video game creation guru that they possibly can be within 48 hours to 72 hours, depending on if they compete in the Compo or the extended group jam, which are both available through the LD Jam website. This time around, we have the community-driven theme of the more you have of it, the worse it gets. Which is to say, the more you have of something, either a resource, an item, an object, a philosophical idea, the worse certain things in the game become. And to lead us off here today, we have Life's a Glitch, which is a Compo entry made by a wonderful dev named The Game Popper, who I've checked out one of his full releases in the past. And basically the way that this works is, we are some type of robotic algorithm in a computer, I would imagine, and our job is to collect little data nodes inside of this computer as it gets ever more corrupted, and trying to avoid touching the corrupted patches so that our program doesn't get jankled around. And our overall goal is to try and survive as long as robotically possible. I would say humanly possible, but as a human being, I can say that that's probably not on, like, my to-do list, is staying alive inside of a computer. So here we are, inside of the game, and we gotta collect these cute little cubes, as I was talking about, and all around us, on the sides and on the platforms, are these little glowing neon numbers that represent little bits of corrupted data, and we have to try and avoid interacting with them or else we will explode. And as a wannabe robot overlord trying to become the next Skynet, I don't want to explode because I want to take over the world and possibly exterminate the human race. That's just how this works. If you're a computer, that's basically the celebrity of the computer world. It's becoming Skynet, or the next Skynet. Now, the more of these little data cubes that we collect, the more corruption that starts to generate in the periphery. Or just the longer that we exist. Because basically the way that you get a high score in this game is that you just stay alive as long as you can, and then you flaunt that knowledge to the rest of the wide world, showcasing how much more awesome you are than they are. Now, if you find yourself in a bind or stuck, you can use your little blaster pellets to try and destroy some of the corrupted data, but it only works in small patches, and it's not the most reliable thing on the planet. And anybody who's ever had to retrieve data for their friend or for themselves, like I've had a couple of hard drives in the past get all corrupted on me, you can certainly say that, oh, this is my new high score, 37 seconds. You can certainly say that that is not an easy task. And I think this is actually pretty good. I mean, the more data that you try to mess around with on, like, a corrupting hard drive, the harder it becomes in some cases. Especially if you've got one of those hard drives that's got a reader head, the little arm that reads the disks inside of your hard drive that's going bad. Then it's in a race against time to try and recover as much as you can before you inevitably have to contact some sort of company that specializes in data retrieval. And as we do that, everything is getting more corrupted. We can kind of fix some of the corrupted sectors using technology in our little pea shooter. That's only so effective. So I think this is in a nutshell, a very solid concept. And it's something that I feel more and more people are becoming aware of in this digital age of algorithms, AIs, computers, and our new digital overlords of like Google, Amazon, Apple, Twitter, Facebook. All of that stuff is becoming more and more apparent as we look around the world. I can say that I can't really last a terrible long length of time. Although there is one thing that I really am curious about in this game. Do I actually need to collect these data cubes to last as long as possible? Because if just lasting that long is my goal, not getting the data cubes seems to be the best way I have of winning the game, at least as far as my digital ego online is concerned. So I feel like the best way to fix this game or improve this game would be to make it so that if you don't get data cubes, your health slowly starts to degrade over time, and you can go through a certain amount of corrupted data before you die. That would give you a meaningful reason to go after these data cubes instead of doing like I'm doing right now and just sitting in a corner and not worrying about it. That said, again, I like the concept, because I think in this digital world it's a very strong point, and I feel like this character could be like an algorithm written by a company whose entire existence is based around retrieving data from people's computers. And you could go through some different story about, oh wait, I'm actually AFK inside of this data cloud and it's not killing me because I'm not moving. Okay. Well, I think I may have found a slight bug in the system. I can basically get the ultimate high score. There's nothing anyone can do to stop me. So I feel like if you put a story together about this emerging AI whose job is to reconstruct data for customers of some company, that would make a really compelling game. You could introduce different obstacles, different enemies, like maybe you have to deal with viruses on top of data corruption, on top of like people trying to hack in and steal stuff. Sky's the limit with this. That said, I mean, it's got good graphics, it's very data-centric, and I know for a fact that Game Popper loves his ASCII art. Like, that's what his previous Gemstone Keeper game was built around, was ASCII art, and ASCII art is great. Love that stuff. It's like the dawn of the internet type of graphics. The sounds are on point, all the graphics work in conjunction. I feel the only thing that's lacking in the core of this game, besides what I already discussed, is that some of the controls of your character, they feel a little bit slidey and a little bit less responsive. I usually just chalk that up to a limited amount of time, because again, this is a game jam. You only have about 72 to 48 hours worth of time to work on these. In this case, it was 48 hours. So if there's a couple of hiccups in the controls, that's really pretty minor. So on the whole, really cool concept for a game. I survived for 3 minutes and 18 seconds. I believe that is the new high score. You can email me my trophy. And yeah, nice work. I like this. I think all of the criticism for this is pretty minor. I feel like you could definitely take something like this, throw in a little bit more depth to the graphics and some story, and you'd be good to go. Very nice work, Mr. Popper. Alrighty. Next up, we've got Dense Resolve by Fiacara, which is an entry into the Compo section. All of the ones for this first episode are going to be Compo entries. And this, I think, has so far, of all the games I've looked at, both in my list and some of the ones that have been posted up onto the Ludum Dare website, this one has probably the most ingrained and interesting interchange of the concept of the more you have it, the harder it makes life. In this case, we play as a gunslinger, an interdimensional gunslinging cat, who the more bullets we have, the harder it is to move, to function. We can't jump very high. We have more gravity. We move really slow. We don't regenerate health. And the less bullets we have, like, we start to regain our magical powers. Like, we can regenerate health and everything. And it really reminds me a lot of the Dark Tower movie, although instead of shooting, you know, interdimensional creatures and, like, the Dark Wanderer, we're just shooting an interdimensional rift. And I thought that was a really interesting concept, and definitely something that you could build into a larger game right off the bat with a lot of really well fleshed out rules to the universe that you wouldn't otherwise see in a more arcadey style game. So here we are as our lovely cat fella, and I just reloaded my pistol, and as you can see, we can't move very fast, but if I start shooting my gun, it gets a lot easier for us to move until eventually, if we shoot all of our bullets, our character begins to passively regenerate all of their health. And that's really the interplay that we're looking at here. So what I've found for this game, if you're interested in playing this at home, is the best course of action is around 3-ish bullets, although I need to regenerate my health real quick. And that's just the right amount of bullets so we can hop up here and start shooting this interdimensional rift. Look, Mr. Rift, I know you want to live, but I got a wife and kittens to feed, so this has got to happen. And we just have to shoot it about 4 times, and that's when we reach sweet, delectable victory. So let me just avoid these bullets. Oh yeah, the last part about this that has that sort of interchange is that the more bullets we have, the faster this interdimensional rift itself also tends to shoot. Which, as you can imagine, makes it really, really hard to function. So you can't just hop up here, reload your gun slowly, and then just blast away into this thing's face, because it'll just make it harder and harder for this thing to be killed until you just get blasted off one of these platforms. And that's the whole game. And I think that's a really strong foundation. I could definitely see this going into an action platforming shooter game, a Metroidvania, if you will, where you have to go down and hunt like interdimensional villains and creatures and like close dimensional anomalies for like some sort of interdimensional government as a concept. And then as you go throughout the game, different weapons have different perks for different tasks, like you're hunting, monsters in like, I don't know, Monster Hunter. But instead of having, like a drawback making it harder for you to outrun a giant monstery T-Rex looking thing, you instead have to worry about, getting sucked into black holes or being too slow to outrun a lizard creature from the nebula dimension. You got a bunch of different options there, and I would definitely encourage you to explore those. That said, for what it is right now, and for what little time the creator says that they had, they said they didn't have the full time to work on this. They only had like half a day. This is a very solid, platform to work from. The controls have so far been fairly smooth. One of the only gripes I tend to have about a lot of games this early on in their development after a game jam is a lot of the controls feel very slidey. But this has been one of the better games I've played that has wall jumping mechanics, wall grabbing mechanics. It worked right off the bat and really didn't give me any cause for concern. Really, the only thing I don't like is that there just isn't much to do in the preview yet, simply because, well, you ran out of time, and that's understandable when it comes to a jam game entry. So I'd be very interested to see where you take this in the future. I think this has a lot of charm, has a lot of potential. You add some story, some background to it, build upon these graphics and concepts, and I think you got a very solid game. So very nice work. I like where it's going. And I would definitely say, I like the idea of like a gun that has its own gravity. Like maybe that's exactly what it is. Maybe your bullets just have so much mass that they slow you down because they act like their own personal black hole when they're in your gun. I don't know. Okay, last up, we've got Too Much Asteroid, made by Digital Fudge, which is another Compo entry. And this is a game that takes us way back in time to the age of the dinosaurs in order to try and survive being eaten or also getting smushed by one of those extinction level events where an asteroid hits your planet and there goes all of your dinosaur pals. It's kind of awkward. I'm just trying to go visit the in-laws for the holidays, and here comes an interstellar rock trying to smush me off the face of existence. And the way that this game works is we walk up here, grab a box of rocks, and our goal is to try and throw these rocks at all of these marauding, they kind of look like a dinosaur cat, and keep them from eating our delectable face. And it's actually a lot harder than it looks, because we got to throw rocks at these cats, and then eventually, when those asteroids come by, we have to throw a rock at them and get some more ammunition. And that's really the whole of the game. Run around this little obstacle course, which actually, now that I think about it, is really just a static image. None of these rocks actually pose a meaningful threat to locomotion, and just try to blast as many of these cats with as best a score as we can. And I mean, it's a good solid game. This is definitely a game type that I've seen before. It's something that's been tried and true throughout the ages. It's almost like one of those asteroid destruction games where you just hurl rocks or little BB blasts at asteroids and try to avoid all of the pellet pieces so that they don't smack into you, and try to get the ultimate high score. That said, there are a couple of pieces to this game that don't work phenomenally great, which is sometimes I haven't been able to see how many pellets we have. Originally, I wasn't even sure if there was a pellet counter. As it happens, the reticle that we use to aim to throw at these little kind of chibi art cat dinosaurs indicates how many rocks we have. We have 50 per little carton of rocks that we pick up. But I don't quite know how many of these I've killed because the scoreboard doesn't quite work yet. And I wouldn't mind it if there was a little bit of a bigger and better heads-up display going on to tell me exactly what is happening in the world around me. And that is to say, I feel like you could do away completely with the tutorial in this game, because it does provide you with informational that tells you pick up rocks to throw them at the dinosaurs, shoot rocks at the asteroids to refill your ammo, and then try to stay alive as long as possible. I feel like a lot of that can be done away with if you just have a couple pop-ups dynamically as you're playing the game. Like, the creator, Digital Fudge, said that they didn't have enough time to put in a story to this game, so I feel like you could almost immediately do a pop-up that indicates to people that all you have to do is pick up those rocks, hurry, 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 because you're in the middle of a nesting ground for some type of cute dinosaur that's also horrifyingly hungry upon hatching. And they really need to eat you or something, so you gotta beat the clock until something happens so that you can escape this arena and get out of here with your life. And then it could keep better track in a bigger UI of your shots. And then when you do run low on shots, it'll tell you, hey, quick, the meteor's coming. The soothsayers foretold of this in your tribe. Throw rocks at it to stop it and get more ammunition. And with just a couple of pop-ups, you can do away with the tutorial entirely. The pop-ups only need to show up like once or twice to give people the message, and then you're pretty much good to go. And then I could totally see this becoming an endless shooter game where you just have to either beat the clock or beat your high score to continue to the next level. And you could go all across the Jurassic, Cretaceous periods, all through dinosaur history, fighting off different creatures with different weapons and different technology to provide both a, I want to say, educational value, because I could totally see this being based around, like, what each dinosaur known for. You know, some dinosaurs have lots of armor, so they take 2 shots to kill, but they're not as fast. Or you could have some dinosaurs that are really fast, but, you know, you could just sneeze in their general direction, and one rock could take out multiple of them without having to worry too much about your ammo or your health. You got a lot of options here. Again, it's a solid foundation. It's pretty basic. The graphics are more or less on point, although they get kind of pixelated when I play them on my large monitor. And I think you could do stuff with it. I think it just needs some refinement with some more time outside of Ludum Dare. So nice job. I think it just needs some stuff. And again, I could totally see this with different levels, different enemies, and you could definitely go for broke through history, through different levels of dinosaur technology for your weapons, and have a really robust game that you could release on multiple platforms just for the heck of it. And that'll basically wrap up this episode of Larry Does Ludum for Ludum Dare number 40. I've had a lot of fun looking at these games so far, and I haven't even played a whole ton of them because we just got started. So beyond that, I mean, keep playing and rating those awesome games. I'd love to see some of your games so far. I don't have a lot of games yet on my list. There hasn't been a Let's Play post on the website yet. So I'd love to see you guys and gals out there submitting your games to me to play. I'm, as always, going to try and play more and more games as the jam goes forward and make more videos than I did last time. And until next time, I've been your host, Larry. This has been Larry Does Ludum. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time. Links to these great games are in the video description below, and I will catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.